Hey, Shalom Akim. First and foremost, give all praises and glory unto Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, Bashim Rachak Kudash, double honors under the Ella's Apostle Great Millstone, the Ella's Great Millstone, and of course, peace and blessings under the hopeful elect, the sincere servants of Yahweh, Bashim Yahushai, serving him in truth and sincerity. Yes, we're on the brother Chayabo from G-Men's Plain Tables Camp, coming back with another lesson to his spirit. Yes, so this lesson be entitled, Destruction Awaits Babylon. Of course, as we know, Babylon the Great, according to the scriptures, but there's, obviously, there's, when the scriptures speak about Babylon, it can refer on to, pretty much different things. Obviously, you have the ancient Babylon, you have the Neo-Babylonian Empire. But when you read scriptures such as what I'm about to read, Isaiah chapter 13, the book of Revelation, Jeremiah chapter 49, chapter 50 and chapter 51 of the book of Jeremiah, Isaiah 47, so on and so forth, they go into Babylon and Great, as well as 2nd Esdras chapter 15 and 16. Ultimately they go into Babylon and Great, which is, what is going into a future Babylon, which again is America. Babylon and Great, the modern day Babylon, is America. So it says, the burden on Babylon, which Isaiah, the son of Amos, did see. It says, lift ye up a banner upon the high mountain, and exalt the voice unto them, and shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. Yeah, with this banner are the scriptures, and we're lifting it up. It's going, but again, we're lifting up this word, of course, through the spirit power Yahweh Bashim Yahushai, and it's going out. Obviously with the unicorn, the Lord's using the unicorn to move forth this word, among the world, which of course the unicorn is the internet. The scripture's going to the unicorn. It's speaking about the internet. Again, we don't have to jet set, we don't have to travel thousands of miles, just to get to another country to teach. And no, all we have to do is just upload these lessons. Of course, we go out there in the highways and byways. But what the point is that, we don't have to travel thousands of miles just to teach on to another country. No, again, by the internet, we're able to do that. And whether it's Yahweh Bashim Yahushai speeding up, but pretty much receiving this word, so that, again, the elect wake up quicker. Because, hey, imagine how long it would take if we had to go manually ourselves and, pretty much teach, again, just go among these other countries and, the elect wake up that way. No. So, yeah, it says, verse 3. It says, exalt the voice. So, verse 2, continuing on, it says, exalt the voice unto them. Shake the hand that they may go into the gates of the nobles. Yeah, and what this word has reached, the higher ups, the elites. The elites know exactly who we are, and whether they're familiar with what we're teaching. Of course, you had Trump deeming us as the prophets of doom. It says, Isaiah chapter 13 and 4, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. Or it's like verse 3 says, I have commanded my sanctified ones. I also called my mighty ones for mine anger, even them that rejoice in my highness. The noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. And it says, a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. It says, Lord Yahweh of hosts mustereth the hosts of the battle. Yeah. And ultimately, what is that? Of course, this is speaking about the nuclear missiles. Because, again, the scriptures go into the destruction of Babylon and how it will be destroyed. And the scriptures say it, how it will be destroyed by fire. How pretty much these other nations, they're going to launch their arrows, which course, within the scriptures, when, what pretty much, when it touches upon Babylon being destroyed by arrows, it's speaking about it being destroyed by this modern day arrow, symbolically, which is the missile. The nuclear missile is a modern day arrow. It says, verse 5, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Yeah, and there you have it. So they come from a far country. Yeah, it says, like as a great, so going back to verse 4, it says, the noise of a multitude in the mountains, like as of a great people. Yeah, because imagine if you're shooting a barrage, thousands of years age, that's what the scripture's going to the count 200, or of course 200 million within Revelation. Revelation chapter 9, what goes into the count that would be shot upon this place. And of course, what this, could be warheads, or of course, within each missile, we know that there's multiple warheads. So what, and I mean, ultimately, that's what it's speaking about, the warheads that's within these missiles. So it says, yeah, like as a great people, and it says a tumultuous noise of the kingdoms of nations gathered together. Yeah, so imagine again a barrage of missiles being shot. It's gonna sound like a great people. It's gonna sound like a multitude. Again, it says the noise of a multitude, because that's exactly what it says. The Lord Yahweh of hosts mustereth the host of the battle. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And Yahweh Bashmi Ashai is the one who controls these missiles, and what the Lord's controlling these other nations. Rising up the tensions between these other nations. So eventually it gets to World War III, and these other nations make an alliance against Babylon Great to destroy it. It says, verse 5, they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord Yahweh, and the weapon. It says, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Exactly. Yeah, it says they come from a far country, from the end of heaven, even the Lord Yahweh, and the weapons of his indignation to destroy the whole land. Yeah. And what we know, of course, Yahweh Shemi Ashai, he's going to send, or he's going to put this spear on these other nations to shoot their nuclear arsenal upon Babylon Great. But also, once Yahweh Shai comes back, Yahweh Shai is coming back with his army. And as we already know from 2 Ezra chapter 13, the chariots have the ability to shoot high concentrated energy upon, pretty much anywhere the Lord wants them to shoot upon. Of course, we know that it's going to be a lot of people getting vaporized by these chariot, or these high-powered chariot energy beams, which when you go into the description of the energy beam of these chariots, what goes into fire mixed with, it goes into flaming breath mixed with tempest, and so on and so forth. So when you combine all those together, obviously you get a very high-powered laser, and that's exactly what these chariots will shoot. So also the chariots will be aiding in the destruction of Babylon Great. And what the scriptures say, let's go ahead and get it. Revelation chapter 18. In 8, it says, therefore her plagues. So when you go into this chapter, it goes into Babylon. Verse 2, of Revelation chapter 18 and 2, or of chapter 18, it says, and he cried mightily with a strong voice, saying, Babylon the great is fallen, and has become the habitation of devils. It says, in the hole of every foul spirit, and a cage of every unclean and hateful bird. Yeah, so what's speaking about Babylon the Great, which again, the modern day Babylon is America. It's not, the scriptures aren't just going to say America when, America came to exist. Pretty much when it was named after Amerigo Vespucci, which obviously was way after, when the scriptures were written. So no, when you read this, ultimately what the scriptures are a code. And really the Lord made it that way for the elect, because the Lord didn't want everybody to get it. The Lord only wants his elect to get it. the mysteries within the scriptures, the hard sayings, the dark sayings, so on and so forth. The Lord has it written that way because he doesn't want everybody to get it. He doesn't want it, even though what the Lord makes it, what the scriptures say, how the ways of the Lord are plain unto the holy, but it's a stumbling block unto the wicked. So the Lord makes it plain unto the holy. We're able to understand through the Holy Spirit. The Lord has quickened our minds and given us the eye self. But what for anybody else is gonna, they won't be able to see it. Only the predestined of Yahweh Hashem Yahshai will see it 100%. That's what brothers ought to be a part of. Of course, with the elect. It says, so go into verse 8. It says, therefore shall her plagues come on one day, death and mourning and famine. It says, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord of power who judgeth her. Yeah. So her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine. It says, and she shall utterly be burned, it says, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord of power who judgeth her. Yeah, that's the point. So what, this place will be burned up. And the Lord is not just burning us a place for any reason. Well, ultimately, this is a place of our captivity. Of course, referring unto us Israelites, so-called blacks and the Americans, Latinos, ever since 1492, 1619, which we are overtaken as a people and conquered and put into slavery. We're still in captivity onto this day. It says, Isaiah, and again, this is what that place, or what ultimately this is the place of our captivity. So Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, for all the iniquities that Esau has done, the so-called white man unto our people, which Esau, he runs, of course, Babylon the Great. What Babylon is his main country, because as we know, of course, you have Edomites, or you have Edomite nations around the whole world. But America is that main place. It says, verse 5, sit thou silent and get thee into darkness, O daughter of the Chaldeans, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Yeah. The daughter of the Chaldeans, again, going into Babylon Great, going into America. Yeah, it says the Lady of Kingdoms. Now, for thou shalt no more be called the Lady of Kingdoms. Yeah. And this place is that place. The land of opportunity, as is deemed. Well, pretty much, this is that nation where other nations, of course, what other countries look towards. Well, for whatever, for, of course, opportunity. We know, there's a lot of people who come here, as immigrants. We know that these other nations use America to get rich, to obtain their wealth and riches, through trading and so on and so forth. This is that place. This place is known as that Dahor. It says, verse 6, I was wroth with my people. I polluted mine inheritance and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Yeah, so it says, so it said I was wroth with my people. And the reason why the Lord allowed us to be put into slavery, get conquered as people, was because Yahweh Hashem Yahshai was angry with us. We were committing idolatry, we're going off, and serving other gods. And that's what that's the first thing that leads us astray as Israelites. If we serve, or if we start serving false gods, that's what leads us away. Because, obviously, with the service of, or pretty much you serving false idol, that leads on to you doing whatever that idol told you to do, and you not doing what Yahweh Hashem Yahshai, of course, what told us to do. So it says, verse 6, I was wroth with my people, I polluted my inheritance, and given them into thine hand. Thou didst show them no mercy. Upon the ancient hast thou very heavily laid thy yoke. Exactly, and Esau didn't show us any mercy within Babylon the Great. And what, even on to this day, we're still in captivity. Now it's just a different type of captivity. Slavery has never been abolished. It's just been transferred. It's just been changed. Now we're slaves under the system, and ultimately the system is designed 100% first and foremost against our people. Esau designs the system so it's 100% against our people first and foremost. It says verse 7, and thou saidst, I shall be a lady forever. It says, so that thou didst not lay these things to thy heart, neither didst remember the latter end of it. It says, therefore, hear this now. Yeah, so what is the latter end of it? And hey, we already know the latter end of Babylon the Great. It says, therefore, hear this now. Or it says, hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwellest carelessly, that sayest in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. It says, I shall not stay as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But it says, but these two things shall come to thee in a moment and one day. The loss of children and widowhood, they shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of thy sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enhancements. Yeah. It says, verse 10, for thou shust in thy wickedness, and thou hast said, none seeth me. Thy wisdom and thy knowledge hath perverted thee, and thou said in thine heart, I am, and none else beside me. Yeah, that's the point. Obviously, we know Babylon the Great is known for his wickedness. It says, verse 11, therefore shall evil come upon thee, and thou shalt not know from whence it riseth, and mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off. It says, and desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, which thou shalt not know. That's the point. So everywhere you read about Babylon the Great, it's going into its destruction. Was what we know the latter end of it. It says, 2 Peter chapter 3 and 10, but the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burned up. Yeah. So everything within Babylon the Great will be burned up. It says, seeing then that all these things shall be dissolved, all manner of persons ought you to be in all holy conversation and godliness. Yeah, and we don't just say these things. Oh, Babylon the Great is going to be destroyed, and we're not taking actions ourselves, or what action ourselves. And what action do we need to take? Is to serve Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, so that of course through our faith and our obedience towards Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai and keeping His commandments, doing what ultimately Yahushai told us to do. Again, that's what we need to do if we need salvation. Ultimately, that's what the elect's going to do. So we need to be doing the same thing. Because, of course, what Yahushua told us, what we have to do. It says, verse 12, looking for hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High. So hasting. And, you don't just haste by sitting back. You haste by doing what Yahweh Shai said to do. Because again, we know Babylon the Great be destroyed, but ultimately there's going to be salvation for the elect. It's not just everybody will be destroyed in Babylon the Great and that's it. No, the Lord's coming back to grant salvation unto His elect and destroy everybody else who's, of course, not part of that remnant, the heathen and the 2/3 that are within Babylon, the 2/3 of the nation of Israel. It says, looking for hasting unto the coming of the day of the Most High, wherein the heavens being on fire shall be dissolved, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. Yeah, it says, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. And how can an entire country, be melted with fervent heat? well, obviously by nuclear missiles. That's what that's a modern day arrow that Yahweh Bashim Yashai has put the spirit upon these other nations to use within their warfare. And what, again, the Lord's doing it for a reason, so that Babylon the Great can be destroyed 100%. Ultimately, what the Lord uses those missiles for judgment. So really, those aren't these country, or these other countries. These aren't their own missiles, but these are the missiles of Yahweh Bashim Yashai, because the Lord's the one who put the spirit upon these countries, and was starting with Oppenheimer, to create these bombs. So yeah, I believe it's the point. The point is that destruction of waste Babylon, you can go through all the scriptures and it goes into that. So of course, as servants of Yahweh Bashim Yashai, we're expected to do what the Lord has commanded us to do. If we want to be deemed worthy, of course, through the blood of Yahweh Shai, we're deemed worthy, the elect. But of course, what the Lord is speaking is of course, we're in a grace period where Yahweh Bashim Yashai is expecting us to do His will, to do what He said to do. Of course, for His prophets, we're going to feed the sheep, go out there in the houses and bobbies. We're going to do what Yahweh Shai has told us to do. Of course, to be blameless, to be holy and separate from this world. That's what Yahweh Bashim Yashai has commanded us to do. So yeah, I believe it's a point. Lord's will, you blessed, the edified. Yahweh Bashim Yashai, Bashim Kakwadash Bakathum. Shalom.